Welcome to the Construct2 Academy, how to make a shoot 'em up game. My name is Ed, and today I'm going to give you a brief overview on how easy it is to make a shoot 'em up style game with Construct2. The key learning points we're going to learn in this video are the drag and drop behavior, the bound to layout behavior, the flash behavior, the sign behavior, the destroy outside of layout behavior, and finally we'll learn a little bit about instance variables. Alright everybody, let's get started. So here we are in Construct2, and as usual I have everything set up already. So I have a tiled background. I have just these objects that have 9 frames of random objects that will appear on the background as it scrolls, just to keep it a little bit more randomized. I have our enemy sprite, an explosion, a bullet hit splat, and then enemy bullets, hero bullets, and our hero's ship. And then finally at the bottom here I have a bottom collider. And then we have our layers, our background, ships, bullets, enemies, and HUD if we need it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and get our background scrolling so it looks like we're moving. So we want to add the bullet behavior to our tiled background. We're going to set his default speed at 25 and set angle of rotation to no. Okay, so now since this is a game that has like a constant movement, we want to create a global variable right here called game speed. And we're going to default that to a speed of 25. That way when we want to set the speed of anything in the game that's going to be the same speed as the background, we can just set it to the game speed. So in sort of layout, we want a tiled background. We want to set its angle of motion to 90. And we want to go ahead and set his speed. Oops. Set his speed to game speed. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is when our tiled background gets to the bottom, when it's scrolled the whole way, we want to quickly move it back up to the top so it looks like it's a constant movement. So we want to compare his Y, and if it's greater than or equal to the height of the tile background, so you can just use self.height. Okay, so if my tiled background's Y is greater than or equal to my height, then I'm going to reset his position. I'm going to set his Y to my current Y minus the height divided by 2. So let's go ahead and give that a test run. So there we go. You can see our background is moving slowly. It looks like our ship is flying through the air. And this is just going to repeat this background over and over again based on that code. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is add a little bit of randomness to our background. So what we have here is we have this object that has these 9 frames. It's not an animation. I have the speed set to 0. So we can just pick and choose these frames as we want. So let's go ahead and add the bullet behavior to this guy because he's also going to move at the same speed as the background. Okay, and we'll default him to 25 as well. And we'll set angle to no as well. So what we want to do is let's say every random 0.5 to 2 seconds, we're going to create one of these objects. So we're going to create objects on layer background, and our X is going to be a random value, so random 29, 391, and our Y is going to be -40. So this is going to go ahead and create one somewhere up here and then anywhere within an X, so it'll be in a random spot. Then we're going to go ahead and set our frame of our object. Okay, we're going to use an integer random between 0 and 9. This will give us a value between the number 0 and the number 8. It won't actually give us the number 9. Okay? And then we're going to set our angle of motion to 90. And we're going to set our object's game speed, or set his speed to game speed. That way it's going to be doing the same speed as the background. Alright, we go ahead and demo this. We should now have some random background objects popping up on the screen. Alright, it just gives a little bit more randomness to our background as we go there. Alright, and maybe this was a little bit too much, so let's just set this to between 1 and 2. Okay. Okay, so that's all well and good. So now we need to make our ship move a little bit. So we're going to click on our ship and we're going to go ahead and add the drag and drop behavior. And the reason I'm going to use this for this example is because we haven't used it before. And it can also be used for touch devices or mobile devices. So you can touch the ship with your finger and move them around. Or in our case, we can click on them and move them around. So we give him the drag and drop behavior. We're also going to give him one more behavior that we haven't used before, which is the bound to layout. What this one's going to do is allow us to not drag him outside of the layout. So if we go ahead and run this, we can go ahead and move our ship around and see how he won't go outside the layout now. Okay, so that's a real quick and easy way to do some movement, especially for mobile devices. So you can just touch your ship and kind of drag them around. So what we need to do on top of that is we want to go ahead and make him shoot. But again, with mobile in mind still on this one, we don't want to have a button to shoot. We just kind of want him to shoot automatically while we're dragging him around. So we're going to add a new global variable called cooldown. And this will be how often he can shoot, because we don't want him to just be spamming bullets the whole time. So we're going to let him shoot once every 0.25 seconds. Okay, and then we have on our ship, we have this new event here called isDragging. So we're going to say if I'm dragging, I'm going to go ahead and subtract from cooldown delta time. Okay, and then I'm going to add a sub event. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and add a sub event that says if cooldown is less than or equal to 0, then I'm going to go ahead and shoot. So we're going to go ahead and take our ship and we're going to spawn another object. We're going to spawn a bullet on layer bullets at image point 0. Okay, we're going to take our bullet, we're going to set his angle to 270, and then we're going to go ahead and reset our cooldown to 0.25. Okay, and then real quick on our player bullet, we need to go ahead and add the bullet behavior naturally, because it's a bullet. And we'll leave it at 400 and see how that goes. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. So now if we're not dragging, we're not shooting. But as soon as we start dragging, we can go ahead and start shooting. Looks a little weird where that bullet's coming out from, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and take our ship. Let's add a new image point. We'll call it shoot. And we'll put it right up there by the tip. Yeah. And then when we spawn this bullet, we'll spawn it on shoot. Hopefully that will look a little bit better. There we go. Okay, well that's all well and good, but what fun is a game without a bad guy to kill, right? So let's go back and click on our enemy 1. We want to go ahead and give him the bullet behavior as well. We're going to set his, we'll just leave him just like that. Okay. And the one other behavior we want to give him is the sign behavior. Okay. Okay, and we want to leave him at a horizontal movement. We're going to change his period to 3 and his magnitude to 25. The period is how long it's going to take him to move over the magnitude. So he's going to move 25 pixels in either direction on the horizontal, and it'll take him 3 seconds to do so. So he'll move kind of at a slow left and right fashion as he comes down. Okay, and that's kind of the way we can make patterns for our enemies. All right, so back in our code, we're going to go ahead and add an event. We're going to do another every X. And we'll do this one every 3 to 6 seconds. We'll call some enemies. Oops, every random 3 to 6 seconds. Okay, now, so every 3 to 6 seconds, we're going to go ahead and create an enemy. On layer enemies. Again, as X, we're going to make random. Let's say random, do the same, 29, 391, and then a Y of -40. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to create our enemy, and then we want to set his angle of motion to 90. And we want multiple enemies now. We don't want just one. We want kind of a wave coming down. Okay, so let's just do that. And let's see what happens. So within 3 to 6 seconds, we should see a wave of enemies start to come down. And there they are. You can see they move pretty quick, and they're kind of all bunched together. Alright, so let's take our enemy, and let's set his speed to, maybe 100. Now you see they all kind of came like mashed together, but we want to put them like kind of in a straight row. So in order to do that, we can't have a random X for each one of these guys. So let's just create a global variable. We'll call it setX. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do in this code here is let's go ahead and set the value of setX to random 29, 391. Okay, so we're going to get one number. Oops, this should be a 29. And then for all of these, we're going to use setX. This way, it's consistent on each one of these guys. So each one's going to have the same X starting point. Okay, now if we did this right now, it's going to happen so fast that they're all going to be created right on top of each other. So what we want to do is we want to throw a little wait in between each one of these creations. Except for the last one, we don't want to. Actually, let's create a couple more, just for fun. Let's make 5. Okay, well, let's go ahead and run this now and see what we got. There we go. That's a pretty sweet looking pattern coming down now. See that? All right. Okay, finally, the last thing we want to do is put in some collisions, clean stuff up a little bit, make it a little bit more fun. So first thing, I want to briefly introduce instance variables. Now what this is each object has its own instance variables that you can give that object. So for example, my enemy 1 here, I'm going to give it an instance variable of health, and I'm going to give it a health of 2. Okay, and then this variable is going to be unique to each one of these objects that spawns. So each one of these, as we created them, we created 5 of them. Each one of them has a health of 2. So now let's do our player bullets, and when it collides with an enemy, what we want to do is on our enemy, now we have these instance variables here. We want to go ahead and subtract from health 1. Okay. We also want the player's bullet to spawn another object, and we want it to spawn a splat. on layer bullets. Add image 0.0 is groovy. And then we want to destroy our bullet. Okay, now our bullets will hit our enemies and do that little splat. So now we want to do an event check on the enemy that's saying, I want to compare its instance variable of health, and if it's less than or equal to 0, we want to go ahead and destroy our enemy. So first we're going to have our enemy spawn another object. It's going to spawn our nifty explosion on layer bullets. No, I'm sorry, on layer enemy. Add image 0.0. Then we're going to destroy our enemy. Alright, so let's give this a test run. So here we are. We can move around and shoot. And there we go. Now you see, we hit him once. He doesn't die. Hit him again. Died. Oh, but look, all these little guys are staying out there. Well, let's clean that up real quick on our splat. Let's give that guy the fade behavior, as we've seen in the past. And we'll have it fade out after 0.2. So now those should disappear. Alright, and same thing with our explosion. Actually, here's something new I can show you on our explosion. Because even though you don't see it anymore, it's actually still there. It's just on this last frame. So let's go ahead and go to our explosion. We're going to say on any animation finished. And it's default. It's the default animation. We're going to go ahead and destroy that explosion. So let's give that a run. Should look a little bit cleaner. There we go. Okay. Now, lastly, we need our ships, our enemies, that when they collide with our bottom collider, meaning they got past our ship, we want them to go ahead and destroy. For the same reason, we don't want them just floating around down there taking up memory if they're not actually in the game anymore. And since we're actually creating them before the layout, we can't use destroy outside of layout because they'll destroy before they even enter the game. Okay, so we'll just use this guy, and they'll destroy as soon as they hit that. Okay, and the final thing that I want to show you is the one more behavior we're going to add to our ship, and that's called the flash behavior. Flash. There he is. Okay, now we have the flash behavior on. So what we want to do is when our enemy gets hit by an enemy ship, since our enemies don't actually shoot right now, we're just going to say if an enemy collides with our ship, let's take our ship and we're going to make him flash. Let's say for 2 seconds. And then while he's flashing, we are going to go ahead and disable collisions. So he can't be hurt. I mean, that's usually in games. When you see something flashing, it means they're invincible, right? So as he's flashing, we're going to set his collisions to disabled. All right, and then what we can do is we can go back to our ship and we can say on flash ended. We take our ship and we're going to turn collisions back on. All right. So let's test that one last thing out. We can run it, and here we go. We're shooting. And then if we run in, we're going to go ahead and get hit. So we're invincible, right? And then we're not invincible. All right, and that concludes this introductory video to creating a shoot 'em up. And I will definitely be expanding on this, showing some boss battles and some AI and some different enemies and whatnot. So I'll see you guys soon.